Okay, thank you.
All right. Okay, we'll do a call to order. This is the regular meeting of the Western University Historic Zone Advisory Board, June 21st, 2022. We'll do a quick roll call. Looking at the screen here. So Rachel Sarah.
Here.
Damon Turner.
Here.
Johnny Birkenbein.
Here.
And Rick McDonald here. And that's, I think, all we got for today, which is fine. We have a quorum. So that's the end of item 1 on the agenda. I'll go on to item 2, approval of the LAR from the last meeting. Have you all had a chance to take a look at it? Yes, 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 Johnny, yeah, yes. All right, do I have a motion to approve?
This is Damon. I motion to approve.
Second,
This is Rachel Sarah. I second.
okay. All approved, say aye.
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 I'm going to abstain since I wasn't present at the last meeting.
Okay, so we have 3 approvals and 1 abstain. So Jody, 3,
You're good.
we're good? Okay, awesome. I thought we were good. I felt good. All right. Laura approved. Call to the audience. Jody, did we have anything for the call to the audience, item 3?
We did not.
We did not, okay. Trying to remember to write this down. All right. Next item on the agenda is the Tucson-Pima County Historic Commission separation update. Jody, do you have any? I know there's a meeting later. There's a meeting soon.
No,
Not
you
sure.
you must have missed it. Actually, it was last week on the 16th. We had our 4th stakeholder meeing.
I did miss it, yeah.
And we went through some recommendations. Most of the recommendations, there really wasn't any comments on them, such as deconstruction and the interior designation. We also had one where rather than currently you make a recommendation, PRS makes a recommendation, both of those recommendations go to the Director of Planning and Development Services, and he issues a decision letter. There is a recommendation that the decision letter would actually be issued by the Historic Preservation Officer, which is me currently. And then there wasn't really much objection to that. There was a fair amount of concern about the makeup of the future commission, which is splitting, if you guys will remember, it's splitting from the Pima County Historic Commission at the direction of the National Park Service, which heads up the State Historic Preservation Office, that 2 CLGs cannot operate together. So a lot of the concern was really about kind of the number of members and who is on the commission. The current commission is made up of essentially half of the people are appointed by the Board of Supervisors, half of the people by the Mayor and Council, and then there are select positions that are required to be filled, and they're related to professional positions like an architect, architectural historian, archaeologist, etc. So there was some, and then there's a person from the city of South Tucson that's represented on there. So there was some concern about the makeup. We are still kind of evaluating that. We potentially will have 9 to 13 people on there. We expect that we will have representation from the city of South Tucson and tribal representation, a member of the Pasque Yaqui tribe and a member of the To'od O'odham tribe that will represent on there. Whether or not they will be voting members or they will be ex officio members is still something that we're discussing. I would say the big hot topic item was incorporating the advisory boards into the commission, which there was some support for it. There was some not support for it. We had previously discussed having it so that a member of the advisory board would be on the commission. And then there would not be an advisory board as it's set up now, with the idea that there would be further notification, such as instead of just a week out, it'd be like 2 or 3 weeks out. And there could be a neighborhood association architectural review board that would then inform the representative of the advisory board that would sit on the commission who would vote on the proposed project. And the idea would be that because it's a public meeting, neighbors could come and voice their opinion if they were concerned about a proposed project. So there was some idea about appeal. There was concern about appeal and how would that work? And we were looking at doing something where it would be a notice, because it's notice similar to the neighborhood preservation zones, where it's notice between 50 and 100 feet around the proposed project or property, that those neighbors could appeal. Because it was the neighborhood association that was getting notice, they could appeal, and then the plans review subcommittee could appeal. So we are now kind of taking another look at that because there was a number of people who were concerned about it. It seems like there was generally a lack of trust of the neighborhood association, a lack of trust of neighbors, a lack of trust of the city. There was a general lack of trust. And so we're now kind of taking another look at how that would be put together. And we'll kind of reconvene on that. Everybody's taking a vacation right now, but we'll reconvene on that. So we haven't set up another date yet to discuss this, but pretty much that's the update right now. Did you guys have any questions?
So if the neighborhood associations would be informed, is that sort of like taking the place of what an HOA? It just seems like more work and more hoops. And wasn't the whole idea to like remove some of that?
The idea was to kind of streamline it and take some stress off staff. As you guys well know, there's 2 of us. And so in doing it so that the neighborhood association formed some architectural committee that would then kind of inform the representative from the historic preservation zone that sits on PRS, staff would not have to attend the neighborhood association meeting. It would be something that you guys have. We would notice it, but we wouldn't have to attend it. So we would only be down to attending the 1 PRS meeting versus the 6 meetings that we now attend. That was the thought.
Okay.
It's still, and I will say it's still being worked out. Like there was a question about if it's the neighborhood association that would review the project, are the applicants then presenting to the neighborhood association? Kind of like you guys, like for IID, they have a neighborhood meeting right now. So we're still, I'll be honest, still working out a lot of things.
I mean, I do a lot of work with a lot of different HOAs around town, and they are a lot of work. And the packages you have to put together for them are pretty intense sometimes. And I think that, I don't know that it's really the neighborhood or the people on those boards is, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not really their business. And it seems to be a lot of like, they just kind of get involved in things that I don't think they should. And so that I'm not part of this committee and everything, but that just worries me, kind of putting it in the hands of a bunch of volunteers that are kind of don't necessarily have a lot to do.
And I would say that that was part of the discussion, the whole not trusting the neighborhood association
Yeah.
part that came out. I'll definitely take note of that. You know, your comments for sure, and keep that in mind as we move forward. But I think for sure that was expressed. For
Okay.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily like a trust thing. I think it's just a time management thing. And I don't see this being less work for you all. So that would be my, that would just be my note.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I mean, to footstep a little bit of what Rachel just said, I think it's going to be more work for your office. And I know there's been conversations about as this thing evolves, once that's settled, that resources are going to have to be allocated according to whatever the new process is. And that's, I'm sure behind the scenes, Jody, that's being discussed in some form or fashion. It's not settled yet. So I know it's a little premature, but I hope people are at least thinking about that.
One of the things, I mean, that we'll be asking for, I mean, if it goes forward and ultimately we're not the ones making the decision, mayor and council is making the decision of, you know, maybe this goes forward, maybe it doesn't go forward. Maybe I have, you know, the advisory boards stay in place like they are, or I get additional advisory boards. It would be a matter of mayor and council making that determination. And as when we go forward, we would be asking for more staff. I don't know if you guys are aware, there was PDSD was last week, I think, awarded by mayor and council or approved for additional staff, 14 staff members that they're not going to historic. They're going to engineering where they belong, because engineering is so bogged down, and site review and stuff like that, because they're just like getting beat up. But we would be expected to ask for additional staff to move forward on projects and hopefully help with overwhelming amount of work.
Okay. And any other questions from the board, Damon or Johnny, on anything? You're good? You're good? Okay. Thank you, Jody. Appreciate that. And I know, I mean, this just timeline wise, Jody, this is going to play out over a period of time because you still have things you need to do to code, right?
Yeah, so we don't expect this to happen tomorrow. It will probably be in the fall sometime, if not later than that. So it'll be a while. And if you have comments that you would like to send over, you know, as you think about them later on, you're welcome to send them to me. You're welcome to call my line anonymously and leave me hating that too. I've gotten that before. However it suits. Just let me know as you boil down and think about it. I always come up with my smarty comments after the fact, so you're welcome to give this to me later.
Yeah, you know, I guess for the other board members, my time sitting on these meetings, and now that I heard you talk, Jody, I did actually listen in on the last one. A lot of folks are uncomfortable with anything changing, right? There's a comfort level with the way it's always been from the members of the commission and the boards and stuff. And so there is a little bit of angst and controversy and whatnot. But I think it's inevitable that it has to change.
I'm kind of curious, Jody, because I know, you know, staff didn't always attend our meetings. And I know that was something that kind of happened with the Barrio board and Jody Gibbs. Is there, you know, an option for you guys to not have to attend our meetings and we record them? And if something comes up, you then could listen to them after the fact
So probably not. That direction came from the city attorney and the city clerk. I don't usually out them that they were the problem child that caused all the issues.
I mean, I was a project that I was presenting and like specifically was, yeah, I was there.
So there were other issues too with all the boards where they weren't necessarily following Robert's Rules of Order, and there was some noticing issues and just general angst like that. I found that a lot of times when we are attending these meetings too, people just have questions of us. So it's good for us to attend and hear the discussion. So when applicant comes back and is like, oh my God, what about this? And we're like, what? It's good that we have attended so we can respond to the applicant too, and have a good idea of just generally what's happening and help guide people. You guys are lucky because you have also a number of architects on your board, and Mario has an architect, but Fort Lowell doesn't, Armory Park doesn't, El Presidio, oh, actually I take that back. El Presidio has a couple architects, but you know, it's not always going to be like that where there's architects on the board to kind of help direct too. So it is, I think, still helpful to have staff present, but yeah, we're doing the agendas. You guys so kindly help out with the minutes, but we do the minutes for the other ones. I think it's going to be like this for a while.
Okay.
And you are appointed by mayor and council, so it's appropriate to have staff there.
No, I mean, I'm not saying staff doesn't need to come. I think that it has been helpful having you guys here and available. I was just wondering if that was an option to help alleviate some workload, but really you guys just need more staff. The whole
Yeah,
city needs more staff.
it works out doing it virtually, just from my opinion, because then I can eat lunch while I'm not on, or eat dinner while I'm not on video. Like, I don't have to drive 30 minutes home, so
Yeah.
it's not so bad since we've gone virtual in my eyes, but you know, I'll do however it works if we go back to in person.
Yeah. Oh, I do have a question about that. So there was that separate email. Was that something we needed to vote on in that email? Or are we talking about that here, the virtual versus?
I wouldn't
in-person
mind,
meetings?
all due respect, to kind of moving the meeting forward. I'd
Sorry,
like to
yeah.
kind of end if we have a few minutes to talk about that. I realize we don't have the full board here. And Jody and I have corresponded about it a little bit, and we do have a suspense, I think, of July 1st or something like that to make a formal response. But it'd be nice to talk about it a little bit because there are pros and cons.
Mhm.
And just get everybody's opinion, everybody that's here's opinion on that. Including yours, Jody, because to your point, I mean, you guys have to attend these meetings somehow. And if we do them in person, that changes things a little bit for you too. But I'd like to defer that to the end. If all,
No problem. I'll stop asking questions.
yep. Yep. Okay. All right, moving along, I'd like to close out item 4 on the agenda unless there's any other questions anybody's got. No. Okay, cool. Item 5, reviews. HPZ 22029, 721 North 3rd Avenue, continued. We had a conversation about this previously. There's a continuation going on, and I think, David, are you going to be the speaker for this?
Yes, I'll be the speaker. My son will wave and interrupt if I say something incorrect.
Okay, sounds good. Do you need control of the screen?
If I could get control of the screen, I theoretically can share better than I did the last time.
Okay.
You should be able to just share your screen. I don't think I have any stops on that.
Mine says host disabled participant screen sharing.
I will make you the host then. You got, oh, there you go.
There we go, I think.
All
Is that
right,
correct?
perfect. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so thank you for your patience with us the last meeting last month. We've tried hard to put things together in a more organized format today. So I know you don't have a number of projects to review, but that doesn't mean I need to take longer than you really want. So perhaps what I'll do is just kind of scroll down through this And then please just interrupt me at any point with questions or go back to this or explain that more so. Does that sound all right? So I put this all into the one PDF. And so the scope of the project is that we'd like to build at the rear of our property a small studio storage room, and attached to that would be a covered area for parking 2 cars. The general notes is currently it's just an open dirt space, and that's what it's been for quite some time. And it is surrounded by the 6-foot stucco wall with really commercial property on all sides except for the one house to the direct south. I was asked to try to, refer to all the points in 5.8.9. And so this is kind of a detailed walk through that document. It's because it's a complete standalone thing. It's not really that close to the historic house. We don't see it as really tying directly onto the house. We've kept the height. It doesn't have to be high, but we have now put the height at 11.4 at its highest point. All the contributing buildings in the area are actually higher than that or similar. Some of the outbuildings are similar to that. The big thing that we were talking about a lot the last time, which we've now returned to initially, because it is a narrow piece of property. So that's why we went to within 3 feet on the north side and 1 foot setback on the south side when we first designed it. The city told us, oh, we can't do that. Then we learned that, well, maybe we can do that. And so we've resubmitted with our original setbacks of 3 to the north and 1 to the south. And we've got a full 23 feet to the west for a setback. And why do we want that, in essence, variance of closer? Well, first, it's just because of the space, that there's just not a lot of space back there. So to make it work so that cars can come in and turn around and yet still have a couple spots to park, as well as some kind of studio, it works so much better to be able to go as close to the property lines as we're proposing. And second, we do feel, which I think we're hoping for affirmation from you again, that this it has been done throughout the neighborhood. Historically, that's how people did build, very close to the property lines. And so it would not look abnormal or out of place. And again, it's kind of true, nobody's going to see it anyway. We did include a couple pictures in the area of buildings that are, this is a very immediate area within our development zone. Buildings that are outbuildings that are right on the property line, or at the most a foot back. I know you all know this area, so this is not really news for you. It's the only thing to mention here, I think, in these little notes that we think the proportion works well for the property, and again, it just doesn't make much of a strong statement anyway. To keep the roof low as possible, we just did a sloping roof. It's got a metal top. You won't even see the metal, however. It actually complements the building directly to the south, which is flat. It's a flat roof. The surface texture, as we have learned, it's better not to try to mimic what's in the house itself. It is most of the main house was stucco, but we'll just put a stucco finish on the back as just kind of a standard stucco, which I think is what we're being advised is probably the best thing to do. It is, as you know, these lots are all these long and narrow configured lots, and it's very typical to have some building in the back of that lot. So that's kind of what we're doing. The window details you'll see later down here. We were asked to be more specific about that, which I think we have. They will have bars on them though for security to match, and they'll match what's on the front of the house. I don't see anything here that's probably needs to be highlighted. Which brings us to the plot plan. I do have one typo there. It's a plot plan, not pan. So you see the main house, and you know, originally this lot did not have that little notch out of the south side of it. That happened though quite some time ago. The property with that little notch has always been owned by the same person. And as I mentioned last time, we actually do own the little notch to the south side that has a little two-story building on it. But so the way this is fitting for us is, again, I think fairly self-explanatory there with the studio storage and then the two-car carport. And so it comes right up to the property line on the south side, but the other side of that property line is just dirt. Also, it's so that it extends dirt all the way to what would be a regular rectangle if you take the notch out. Here are the elevations of the building. The north elevation with the two little windows, which would peek up over the 6-foot-high stucco wall, but it would just allow a little bit of light into the room. And then the view from the south, which is actually hardly, you can't really see it because it's under cover of the carport, which is extending out towards us. But that would be the entry door would be underneath that area, and then also just a kind of a small storage area. And we're proposing just a barn door on that slides. The elevation from the west elevation, and we did better clarity on these windows. This goes into the little storage studio room. And we thought what probably ended up looking the best was just putting a couple double hung windows next to each other. Wooden windows, which I thought were not available, but it does look like we can get them. That would go in there. Smaller on the west elevation and a bit larger on the east elevation. So the windows that we have found that we're hoping that you say are good ones were these Jeld-Wen double hung windows. And there were a couple of different lines to choose from on those. And there's the sizes that we're thinking of. The door itself, I think it makes the most sense to just go with a wooden door with a glass panel with again, a security door that would sit in front of it. And the barn door itself, we're suggesting would be made out of solid wood tongue and groove, which is actually what the addition on the back of the historic house that we put on 10 years ago and went through historic approval for. We actually have some of that wood left, some of this tongue and groove. It's actually really nice wood that was milled specifically for our project, and there's still some underneath the house. So we thought, well, let's use that wood, not necessarily to make a statement or anything, but it actually would kind of tie into what's on the main house. I'm going to just keep going. Here's just some pictures from the north side. This is from the new build, which used to be the church property, but now the big two-story building. Here's from the other side, from the south facing north. And you see the area in here. Here's the little building that's in the adjacent property that we own. It's this two-story historic brick building with a little balcony here, so that the carport sits right in this area and through here. And this is all dirt again. That's from we call it an alley, but it technically isn't an alley. It's actually church property behind us. And this is the gate is the way to get into it. As you might note, my son has to paint over tagging on the wall periodically. There's another view of the same. Again, that's the entrance into the property. This would be standing in the carport looking at the main house and then the adjacent two-story building to the south. And this again shows the area where this car is parked. It would be underneath the carport, and then on the other side of it is the storage room. I thought these little shots from Google Earth actually show things probably better than any about where this is proposed. And again, right in through here. This is on the front of the house. We asked the Duesenberry family if they wanted to put a plaque up, we'd be happy to hang it. And they said, yes, we bought it from the Duesenberrys. So that's the plaque that they gave us, and it's displayed in front. The only downside to that is my son has said more than once people have walked up to the house thinking that they could come inside and look around. There's our technical development zone. And here again is this where we're building right here. Here's the technical plans that we've submitted to the city. And I don't know if you want me to pause on this for any particular questions. If not, I'll keep going.
Yeah, just keep going. Some of the interior stuff is not really our purview.
Correct. Here's just a little bit more details again about the windows and the metal roof detail. And we were asked to include something with the existing historic home. So this was one drawing that we came up with from 10 years ago. And I think that might be it. This was the historic property inventory of 1979 that was found somewhere. And there's just our initial application. Oh, and here shows what the zoning had said to us when we applied, that they were concerned about these setbacks. We were not told at the time that we could get, I just thought we'd have to go through a normal variance, which I've done in the past. But then it just seemed we just didn't want to go through it at that point. But then to hear that, oh, there is this other way through the historic, helped us to go back to that. And that's the end of my PDF.
All right, thank you. Let me open up to the other members of the board. Are there any questions? No. I'm trying to get the.
I think this is Damon. I just have I think one comment, which I'm not quite sure what it means, but I think normally we would ask for a little more detail on the windows. You cited 3 models. I've been Googling them as we've been talking, and they are all in fact wood-clad windows. So I think we can approve with 3 options, I would assume. Is that right, Rick?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So yeah, and I thought I didn't see the barn door detail. I heard you said it verbally, but as I scrolled to that page just now, I just saw it. So I don't think I have any questions.
I would, and you said, this is Rick, that you're gonna do security bars on the windows in the studio to match, that are similar to what's on the main house. Do you have a view? You probably did scroll through it real quick and I didn't see it, what those security bars look like.
I actually have a picture of the main house.
Yeah, picture's fine.
Let's see here. I need to do a new share. Here we go.
Okay.
Did that come up?
Yeah, I see it.
And this actually shows, so there's the security bars that we have on. This was the addition that we put on 10 years ago. It also shows the siding that we used. And I think I have another picture of just the siding here as well.
And where was that siding going to be used?
Just on the door itself.
Okay,
the
that's what I thought. I just wanted to
door.
be sure. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going through real quick. I think from a style standpoint, I think those security windows are sort of not exactly what the design guide would point us to.
Is that right? The little swirly things in there, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's on your main house, so it was probably approved at some point. I think if it's all the same to you, we would probably advocate for taking off the little scrolls.
I personally would rather not see the little scrolls also. I don't know, Peter, if you read, it doesn't even matter what necessarily what the history is, but yeah, we're happy to put them on without the little scrolls.
Okay.
They feel the same way. And on the setback in particular, well, when I look at the plan view plot plan, where you show the 3 foot and 1 foot setbacks, I realize that's kind of a sketch. The 1 foot setback and 3 foot setbacks that you show on the drawing, that's where the drip line of the roof is. Is that how I read that? Not the actual wall itself?
It is the actual wall. And we'd have a 1 foot overhang. Well, it is the actual wall. And I think the 1 foot overhang would take us right to the, well, it'd take us right to the property line on the south side and take us 2 feet back on the north side. So back this side of the block wall. And I do understand that if we go that close, well, either way, I think we're going to have to put the fire retardant paint on both those sides.
I think your overhang is actually more than 1 foot, according to your west elevation. You've got 30 feet. Yeah, you've got 36 feet from wall to column and then 40 feet for the roof.
So that would be 2 feet overhang on both sides.
If it's equal, there's no dimensions for the overhang and the submission.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see, and I remember we were talking about that, and I was saying, well, we can't go over the property line. So this, maybe this does have to end up being 1 foot less on the south side. which would be over here. Yeah, we won't go over the property line. We'll just go up to it.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was asking the question. And as you said, you're gonna have to do I don't think this is a historic board issue, but I know you know, because you already said it, you're gonna have to do the fire retardant stuff in the overhang.
Correct. I think, yeah, the thing that's, we know we can't go over this property line. It's because this is all dirt, everything here, and we own it. It's tempting to just say, well, okay, where is that exactly? And then, but we know we have to stick to the property line.
Right.
I mean, the other option is if you do own both properties is to combine them and make it one.
Yeah,
Property if you're really stuck on those elevations or those dimensions.
And again, for 1 foot, we can lose a foot on the carport easily.
Yeah.
And it's not going to make any difference. So it's just easier to do it that way. And then I'm a little afraid if we actually put that back into the property, we end up with too many outbuildings on the same property. So I think it makes sense for us to just leave it as a separate property. We rent it out separately. So.
Okay. So you're wanting to kind of keep it as is, but let's agree that we need to annotate that you can't, the drip line of the roof can't cross over the property line.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Do we have any details on the regular door, not the barn door? Is it just wood door with glass panel? That's
Wood door with glass panel, and to be honest, we hadn't actually found one yet.
I was just curious. I don't.
Yeah, we started looking, and then it's if you have any guidance on that, we're happy to take the guidance or even a suggestion on a company that does a nice door. I mean, we're only doing one door. We might as well put a nice door on it. There's no reason to skimp on what door we put there.
So to recap, we're going to say we're okay with the bars on the windows, just eliminate some of the scroll work on them. And then to make sure that the entire roof line falls within the property line.
Right.
Did we have any other?
Well, I think to kind of pull a thread on what you were saying, Rachel, on page 6 of the document that we have, note number 4 says wooden door with glass panel. So it's at least annotated that it is a wooden door. I'm not sure we have any ideas on where to go get one, where to source material like that. And then you're going to put a security door on that again to match the front. So does the front security door also have those scrolls?
Peter, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I can't remember, honestly. I mean, it has the same theme as the rest of the security bars on the windows, but
Yeah.
I don't remember if it has the scrolls. It has a custom little door in it from where the doorbell on the door used to be able to reach through there and actually turn the little doorbell on the door. But I can't remember if it has the scrolls on it or not, but where it's not something we're attached to, we can get rid of those.
Well, let's just say that I think consistent with the windows, we just prefer the scrolls not be there. Just making note here.
The
Okay,
scroll work is like all over the front wrought iron too.
Yep,
Front
it's
fence.
all over.
I'm looking at the street view.
Yeah.
As much as I don't love the scroll rig either, I don't know that it's worth saying they shouldn't have it because it's kind of all over the place.
I think we should say it just because our design guidelines specifically say to
Yeah.
not use it.
Okay.
I mean, stuff happens. It's not
Yeah.
clear to me how they got there in the past, but if the design
Right.
guy.
yeah, I'm on the same page as Damon. And quite frankly, you guys might want us saying we prefer you not have it because it's probably more of a nuisance to put it there than to not.
Yeah, we'll have to have them custom made anyway, so it's easy enough to make it without the scroll, so.
I'd like to be consistent with the design guidelines, especially since you don't object. Okay. Any other questions from the board or comments? Rachel? Damon? Good. Johnny?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. So let's see if we can put a motion together. Is anybody gonna volunteer to put the language together for a motion?
Rachel's good at that.
Rachel's good at that. I
Okay, I motion to approve as presented. We are approving the reduced setbacks of 1 foot and 3 foot to the walls as long as the roof line does not overhang the property line. As well as we would like the scroll work removed from the security bars on the windows and screen doors. And did we have anything else? I think that was it, right?
I think that's it.
Okay,
Nice job.
thanks.
I second.
stand by, I'm still writing. No scrolls. Okay, I got it. I'm caught up. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Damon, did you say aye?
Yep, aye.
Okay, cool. I didn't see that. All right. We have motion second, all approved, unanimous. So we are good. Good luck, guys.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. And although as always, it takes longer than you want it to. It has not been bad working with you, and we really appreciated your candid comments last month, and feel like we're on the right track.
And I guess
Thank you
as
very
a,
much.
you're very welcome. There are, since you're in the neighborhood, there is a preferred vendor list that includes carpenters and other folk that, you know, if you're a member of the neighborhood association, you get a copy of, and some of those folks may have a better, some of them are experts in historic renovations, and they may have ideas on where you can source your door.
Oh, okay. No, thank you.
Is that on the WUNA website?
It's not on the website. You need to be a member of the neighborhood association, which is a $10 a year fee
I am.
payable to the, yeah, there you go. So you can just send a note to Jim Block, treasurer, and ask for it, and we'll send it back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. No problem.
David, before you leave, can you go back in and make me the host?
That's what I'm trying to do right now.
Thank you.
Although,
You go to participants down at the bottom.
I'm
And then
going
the
up-
list.
I'm going under more, but I don't see that as an option under more now.
No, that's fantastic.
It's pin spotlight for everyone. I think do I have to get out of stop sharing maybe?
Oh,
There.
you probably, yeah.
Yep, here we go. Participants. Hmm. I am still under share here. Yeah, and under more, I'm just not spotlight for everyone, rename, add profile picture. I'm not seeing an option to give it back this time around.
Well, maybe they'll just default and make me host when you leave. That's weird.
Or that'll be a
Sometimes-
sudden meeting adjournment.
I hate,
I can make all, well, I can make all participants allowed to share.
Oh,
You
really?
don't want that.
sometimes I hate technology.
Oh, and we were doing so well here. Pause recording participants. Hmm.
Well, hopefully it'll just let us continue. Or it'll stop recording when you leave. That's weird. I don't understand why. I don't understand why you were originally the host anyways.
So I
I-
went online and I Googled it and it says in the host controls, click manage. So do you have something called host controls?
Host controls.
Maybe right click over your own name or something. I'm not sure how we get to that first host controls thing. And this will open a participants list and then hover on the participant you want to make host.
Oh, yes, that's working. Hovering on Jody is working here. Make host. There we go.
All right.
And the reason I was host is I got on first, I think, and Michael Taku was on. So we were chatting. And then when he left to go apparently to Armory Park, he must have made me host.
Oh, it hasn't switched. So, oh, there it is. Okay, now it's switched. Cool. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. Thank you all very much.
You're very, very welcome. Have a good night.
Thank you,
Thanks.
bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, moving on to item 6 on our agenda, West University Historic Preservation Zone Design Guidelines. Jody has joined us tonight instead of Armory Park so that we could have a little conversation on her thoughts, comments to what we did in terms of comments to the design guide. And Jody, I guess I just kind of defer to you how you want to go through the conversation. I know you've looked at it.
I put in comments. Did you want to bring up a copy of it? I
Or
have it prepped.
I'm not
Okay.
sure I easily know how to do that, but I think that's a good idea.
While you're working on finding it, I will also work on finding it.
I'm betting Damon can find it faster than you. That's my bet.
Probably both of us, yes. Oh, I think I found it.
Oh, good.
I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I just kind of went through and made some comments and had some questions. I guess I like generally when I went through, like on this one, you guys have a map that shows contributing and non-contributing. Sometimes the status changes. I didn't know if you wanted to include that, if you wanted to include a date with that. Or you just want to direct people to the city map, historic map Tucson, or something along those lines.
Yeah, that seems like a good idea to just.
That
maybe
seems
give
like a
link.
much better idea.
Yeah.
So is there, to get that map, I mean, when I go look for it, I know how to use the GIS and call it up like that. Is there something more direct that we can include as a link? Because otherwise I'm imagining this list of instructions on how to get there.
That's a good point too. I always have to go through and kind of just click on the National Register historic status in the layer list to get the to show contributing, non-contributing properties. I can ask Matt Berube if there's a more direct way to do that. But
I think it's a great idea not to have a map like this that changes. It'd be nice to direct people to where to find it. Whatever we put in this document, though, needs to like be helpful in helping them find it and not be this obtuse, like you got to be a techie to find it kind of thing. You know what I mean?
yeah, I can check too to see if Matt can keep that as a layer that's always on. Because there's some layers that automatically come on. But I can check to see if we can just keep that as a permanent layer that's always on the contributing, non-contributing status.
I think that'd be very helpful.
Yeah, that would make it a lot easier.
Okay. Yeah, I'd really appreciate that. I think it's a great idea. There's no sense pointing to stuff that a map that is going to change if you can just go to a link or go to something, and we just need to be able to point people to it.
Let's see, what else did I have? I mean, you guys all had like really good comments, so it wasn't like I had to add a lot to it. Sorry, I'm scrolling. Look away if you're getting ill. I know. I hope this is the right one. Oh yeah. What did I say? Oh, that's what I said. So here you have the city clerks, which technically is the official posting. But we've been posting onto the PDSD website. And with the PDSD website, we also have the projects. So you can actually call up the projects to see the plans and everything like that. And that has the connection information. So, I mean, this is, again, it's just a recommendation.
Well, if that's really where you think people should start, that link, then we should just do that. Put that in there.
I mean, the city clerk, that is the official posting though. So I mean, you know, they're persnickety about that. And I don't want to step on their toes.
Yeah. When you go to that, do you get redirected to someplace else?
No,
No.
no way.
Well, Jody, I wonder, I mean, should there be a little bit more than we do from time to time in neighborhood hear from folk who have a very difficult time figuring out how to navigate to get their process started, or they feel like they've gotten it started and then it, kind of dies someplace, and it's probably because they didn't, not through their own fault, but they just did this, I don't know, they didn't know what to do. So I don't know if anybody's got any ideas. I mean, I really would like them to get more directly to where
So
things.
how do they start the process by, I mean, I feel like I should know this and I feel like I don't even know it because it's been so long since I've started from scratch. So they still go to zoning and have their project basically denied to go
Correct.
back through historic.
Correct.
So the zoning review should be directing them to our document. And like, what does zoning tell them to do, I guess?
Contact PDSD. It's that paragraph right above 28. I mean, you're telling them to contact the city to start the process. I mean, the city can delve that information if it's always, well, I don't know if it's necessarily always changing, but.
Well, and you have right here, this is the application process, and the review process is right here. This is just for the agendas and board membership. I mean, so the PDSD website doesn't have who's on the board. The city clerk has who's on the board. But on the PDSD website, we just have specifically the agendas for the meetings and then plans for the projects that are on those particular meetings.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure they should be, do people contact you, Rick, about knowing when they'll be on the meeting? Like, isn't that what Jody and Michael do? So I feel like maybe this whole thing shouldn't.
What happened? No, and the short answer is no. I mean, people do contact me from time to time because they feel like they put information into the system and they've heard nothing back, and they're wondering if their stuff got lost, and they're just asking questions about that. But it's not really specifically about, am I on this week's agenda or next? That we're going to that website would help. And I don't know, Jody, I'm going to say this, and I may be incorrect. You might have a different perspective. It seems like sometimes things that should get kicked to you don't get kicked very quickly to you, or it seems like people have told me they feel like they put stuff in, but they don't know what happened to it.
I would say that is probably correct. Some of it's a staffing issue where they're
Right.
Not just historic staffing, but sometimes it's staffing issues. Sometimes they didn't submit something. They think they submitted something and nothing has been submitted.
Yeah.
So we've seen it a number of different ways already. So I think that's a little bit, I mean, I understand what you guys are saying, but I also think that's a little bit of a different issue than just this comment. I think that's a bigger issue than this comment. And
I guess I'm just wondering if we should take that out altogether.
Yeah,
If it's
I
not
see.
necessarily accurate or it's in flux, they should just.
If somebody really wants to find out who the members are, they'll find it.
Right.
Or they'll ask city staff. So, I mean, I think I agree with Rachel. We don't necessarily need that in the guideline document.
Right.
Yeah.
If it's something that's in flux and it could be on, if the clerks want it somewhere, I just feel like maybe we just don't need this here.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
me
agree too.
too.
I mean, I can't do anything for somebody. It's Jody's office that determines what goes on the agenda when. If all I can say is it's not on the agenda, but I don't have any like insight beyond that.
Right. So I feel like if we just get rid of that whole last little paragraph before review
Right.
process, might be a better.
I'll put a note, but I'll let you guys edit. I'll just put
Um,
it like this on the,
Yeah.
Okay. That's
All right. Yeah, I appreciate that. And then is that phone number 837-488-91 still valid, Jody?
sure. I'll check on that. That's not my phone number. That's not Michael's phone number.
Right.
We do have a general line. I'll check on that.
And maybe we delete the phone number too. If we say the entire application review process is described at website XYZ right there, and that's really where we want people to go. I just don't want to put a dead phone number in there either, or a phone number. It's like,
I
why are you
agree.
calling me?
I don't think any phone numbers are answered except Robert Sherry seems to be the only one that answers his phone at the city. Like I'll call him to get other people's like direct lines because I can't get into anybody.
Yeah.
So I would say remove the phone number altogether also. And just have the web page. Because then they can, navigate to there's like the organization chart and all that's on there. So
Okay.
Oh, and then I had questions like this. You had a comment or a question, somebody put in there, do we want to say anything about components like retaining walls that date to the period of significance? And to me, that's kind of already covered because it dates to the period of significance. So it's a contributing element. So you don't have to necessarily call it out. It's how you interpret it.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, I always have an issue with this because I think there's some confusion. You guys have a note, a minor review being possible for projects not requiring a building permit, because then people think, I mean, it's a compliance review technically, so they're still submitting for a permit for it through zoning. But the confusion is that people are like, oh, well, I don't need a permit for that. I just have to go through this, like, the historic review. I'm like, well, to get to the historic review, you need to submit for a permit. And it's a lot of back and forth. So I'm always a little bit free when it comes to seeing not requiring a building permit. Because
I think that it's more that we're saying, even if you don't think you require a building permit, you still need to go through minor or like, I think we're trying to say the opposite of that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So we can maybe reword it a little bit.
I generally tell people everything in a historic except for your interior requires a permit. If you're in an HPZ, it all requires a permit. That's what I say. Because I have had these arguments a lot with people.
Okay.
So Jody, I'm not trying to pick a fight here. Is that really strictly true? And the only reason I'm asking that is because we do, from time to time, not necessarily in these meetings, run into folks who adamantly disagree with that because of experience XYZ and HPZ, whatever. So, but if it is really true, what you just said, literally the way you said it, then I think we need to be clearer on that.
I mean, so technically a fence is what they call it. Steve Shields always like hammered this into me. It's a compliance review. But they still submit the same thing, the permit, the City of Tucson permit application, they still get a permit activity number. It still goes through that whole process. It probably isn't as lengthy. I mean, you don't have as many review disciplines looking at it, but it's still as I see it, it still all requires a permit. It's, it's splitting hairs.
Well, but okay, but it's just the way you said it. You're saying that if I'm doing a fence, I have to apply for a permit. I have to go through the permit application process, right?
Yes,
Always in a historic thing. Okay, whether a permit is actually required, a piece of paper isn't quite the same thing as saying, well, somebody else is going to determine that. You still have to do an application.
yes.
Okay, well, maybe we just say that. City of Tucson.
There's a compliance review.
Requires that all
Regardless of permit
exterior, yeah, requires that a
Fairness,
permit
yeah.
application is needed.
Yeah,
Period.
a City of Tucson application or something like that.
Permit application, right?
City of Tucson permit
Permit
application.
application, yep. Okay,
So it's kind of skirting, it's a little bit skirting the wording, but it gets the point across.
okay. But I think we can clean up that language a little bit and just say that, something. to that
Can we
effect.
add a note, Jody, before we scroll past that? Just along the terms of what you were saying, like a compliancy review and permit application is required for it, just so we get the wording correct.
Well, apparently I can't spell.
That's okay, I can't either.
God bless spell check.
Yes, or curse it,
And-
because that's probably why I spell so badly now, because it fixes all the things for me.
Yeah, I'm just curious to the people who still misspell stuff, even though there's a little red line that's underneath there. I'm like, dude.
Right, or they still mess up your and your
Oh,
when they specifically change it for you.
yes.
Sounds like our interns in our office.
Oh, so this one was, this one was, you had a topic about off-street parking. And Rick had put in there, I'd like to propose revisiting this requirement. I thought maybe you can look at the material if you want to do off-street parking, so that it's something that is maybe not a bright white smooth concrete. Maybe it's, a paver that's brown that kind of blends in with the whole dirt atmosphere, or it's those, I forget what they're called, but they're these hexagonal blocks that go into the ground. And then,
Permeable,
yeah,
permeable paving, yeah.
so stuff can grow up in between and it supports the car, but it's really not something maybe you readily see because you put dirt on top of it. But something that blends in with the landscaping, it's just a thought because I saw that comment.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm just mulling in my head what the words would be.
I don't know that our issue was as much with materials for the actual paving as much as it was about where, like, we didn't want driveways in front of the house, like at the front of the house that block the view of the house when the car is parked there. Right? Wasn't that our
Right.
discussion more than the material? Was like the car location?
Yeah, we were kind of thinking, I mean, I don't think we discussed it quite the way I'm about to say it, that just like a fence, that we don't want to be solid in the front of the house. We don't really want a car blocking the view of the house either.
Okay.
I mean, that's really what it was. I mean, I think, we've got folks who don't have access from an alley who would like to be able to park the car alongside their house. We just don't want there to be parking in front of the house.
I think we were also, it's the comment, I think, generally not be visible from the street
Mhm.
that I think we were taking exception to, because there
Yeah,
are
right.
Yeah, there are houses that, and in fact, I think there's one shown in here. In fact, you reference it. I think it's on page 13.
Right, it's on page 13.
Yeah,
Right,
that-
I don't have a problem with, I mean, I think none of us have a problem with, and by the way, it's throughout the neighborhood, a car parked on the side of the house that doesn't block the view of the house, but it's visible from the street. We have lots of that in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
and it's
I think
okay.
it's the I think it's the visible from the street part that we were taking exception to.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And I think if you just got rid of and generally not visible from the street, it would solve the problem.
Yeah,
But then does that eliminate parking? I guess my question is, do we want to say you can't park in the front yard at all? It needs to be like two, because basically we were saying the front yard was like where the house starts forward.
That's
Unfortunately,
impossible for some houses that are locked. in
right, that's
the
what I
lots.
was wondering, like,
Yeah, and I mean, there are houses in this neighborhood that have driveways that, and
They're not, they're in the front yard, but they're off to the side.
right.
right, so I guess that's my question is, how do we word that? So, because if you could say, I mean, even if it's not, if the house is, parked, are the cars parked in the front yard, but on the side of, to the side of the house, it's still technically blocking the view of the house, depending on where you're standing. So I think we need to find a way of wording that to say, in the plane directly in front of the house, or, I mean, I don't know what we want to do there. So maybe we need to keep thinking about that or discussing how to edit that.
Yeah. This really isn't helpful in coming up with the exact words, but a thing I think we would all have a hard time with is somebody deciding to put a big circular drive in front of their house.
yeah. Or knocking down a, rock wall to install a driveway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why couldn't we just say off-street parking should not be in front of the house?
'Cause
Right.
that's
this still has to be
impossible in some
reviewed,
houses, though.
But it
I
still
don't-
has to be reviewed. Like we could say,
Why don't you just change it to review on a case-by-case basis?
right, we have that at the end, don't we? Or
I don't, Johnny, are you saying there's driveways that are directly in front of the house at some houses in the neighborhood? I can't think of,
Yeah, I've got a house that the driveway is in front, but off to the side.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, I think that's fine.
So you got to define what that's technically the front of the house, right?
right, that's what I was saying is like, do we say it has to be in the side yard or it can be in the front yard? It just can't be, if you imagine,
It's
like a
It's-
plane that goes.
it's got to be at
directly-
the front of the side yard.
Yeah,
Right, exactly. Like, how do we, that's what I'm saying. Like, how do we?
You got
word
to define
this?
it.
Yeah,
Well, all right. So,
okay, so how about if we keep off-street parking should not be block the view of the house, get rid of that generally not visible part. And then it will just be reviewed by case basis, not screening, but just in general, will be reviewed
Mhm.
by case basis.
Yeah.
period. End it there.
I like that.
hold on, I'm just kind of trying to capture a little bit of this.
I'm putting them in as replies. Just so you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, and I'm not saying we need to make it this complicated in the wording. When there is parking, like driveways that come from the front of the house through the front yard, essentially, what we would be looking for is an accommodation such that the car actually can go all the way past the plane of the front of the house. Right?
But I
So
think.
that-
what
Well,
Johnny's
again, in
saying-
some houses, that's not possible.
Right. So I think if we just kind of keep it sort of vague and case by case basis, someone can make their case and we can say, no, we don't.
Yeah, no, I agree with the case by case. In fact, I'm good with everything. And Johnny, I guess I'm not, I can't think of one, but you're probably right. There are some cases where there isn't enough of a side yard, which is, I think, what you're saying. Well, and that's where the case, okay, so that's where the case by case would have to come in.
Right, if they don't have a good argument for why it should be that way, then
I think we say the intent is, which is what we're saying, that we don't want to be, we want the car to be parked someplace where it's not blocking the front view of the house. We'll look case by case. Okay, I can play with that a little bit. Okay,
This one was about porches, just clarifying which porches. Front and side porches should be maintained, but a rear porch could be infilled. I mean, the rear is always the place that's gonna take the hit the most often.
Yeah, I think, I kind of agree with your comment, Jody.
yeah, I agree with your comment too,
It's consistent with what I think most people have done in the neighborhood too.
that we've approved.
Yeah.
Let's see, oh. This one is about the solar panels. So SHPO actually allows for placement of solar panels on the front slope, and it does not, I say strike against the property. Like, it's not gonna be something that's gonna delist them if they have other changes. I mean,
Really?
I don't like solar panels on the front. I think it looks craptastic.
I say
It-
we keep it in, regardless of what SHPO says.
Yeah, it's up to you. I was throwing it out.
About
Why should we keep it in regardless of what?
Yeah, can that be enforced?
Yeah, because your SHPO's only guidance, so, but you
But is-
may have
But we're
people,
also only guidance.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I
no.
mean, if they really
you-
want to fight it, I say let them fight it, but I say if we have, I mean, it's just like we can say we want certain doors or we don't want scroll work on your screens, like we can say we don't want to see the solar panels. I'm not
Yeah, I mean,
saying this is any
you're-
different.
your design guidelines, I mean, you're a little bit more, have a little bit more teeth than SHPO does, because SHPO really is just a recommendation. But you could have people say, well, look at, Sam Hughes, that's also the National Register District, and SHPO approved this, for the front facade.
I think if they want to fight it, then we can let them. I mean, I don't know, like,
I disagree. I fundamentally disagree. I think we should be encouraging people to put solar panels on their
I think
houses.
we should too, but if they can't, like, I mean, like with my HOA, it specifically says you can't do it. And I didn't even ask them. I just put it on because it's against the law for them to say I can't. So, like,
Yeah, but not everybody's an architect and knows what the rules are.
I
I think we should be,
You
we
wanna-
should be encouraging people to
yeah.
modernize. And I think it'd be sad if people who live on the north side of the street can't get solar panels on the north side.
okay, so
I probably would add that if you, with the caveat that if you say, okay, yeah, you can have it on the front slope, that it does have to
or for
go in line with the roof slope. Like, because that would look total craptastic if you had solar panels on the front slope of the roof, but they had to be raised at a certain angle. So suddenly it looked like you had a dormer roof, a dormer shed roof, whatever, on the front
Right.
slope of your house.
well,
so
then
the-
what if we put them in a way that's, because we already say that we want the solar panels to be in line with the roof, wherever that section is.
it's right in front of us. Addition,
I don't, no, I don't, there's somewhere where we specifically said the solar panels had to be,
oh, there is a separate section on solar panels, you're right.
Yeah,
Somewhere else in the
so-
document.
maybe this just can say the case by case, take it out of inappropriate and say a case by case basis, or
Actually, you know what? So
Should we just take it out of this section?
take it out of,
Yeah,
the-
so
Johnny's
then-
right,
yeah.
because it is someplace else and we
and
should
it
probably start.
specifically
clear-
says it needs to be in plane with the roof, so.
Yeah, I
remove
think,
it.
yeah, Johnny's right. Let's just take it out of this section. It's covered someplace else. Let's not have one paragraph conflicting with another one.
Yeah.
What did I say? I don't see an example. This is a new construction and they were new buildings. What the heck was I thinking about this? Wow, I don't even know what I was thinking with this one. Sorry. So maybe you can word this as an encouragement. Oh, I get it. Because you aren't always going to get people who are going to want to have this huge foundation. Some of them, and while I agree, I think it's better to have this continuous kind of look where, you had the historic house on the stem wall and your new addition is raised up to kind of match the height of the stem wall. Sometimes that's not going to happen. So I would probably, if you're going to include that, maybe just word it as an encouragement. This is what we would recommend. This is what we would encourage to keep the continuity of the historic house instead of removing that. But you do have lines to it, so maybe you're just taking it out altogether. Just a thought.
If we wrote it in, why wouldn't we get it?
Well, that's a good question. It could be,
Wouldn't that be a parameter to building something new in the neighborhood?
it could be. I mean, yeah, but then you want to think, what about people who maybe are proposing to do a second story? And so then now you have the second story that sits on this 18-inch or higher stem wall kind of thing to match the historic house. It makes your addition higher too. I mean, this is probably not making my case. It makes your addition higher, and then putting it on a slab would actually lower it down to reduce the impact. But I guess I don't know. It was taken out, it was crossed out. So I was like playing around with it.
So you would be talking about an addition in the back
Oh yeah.
with that
Yeah.
example.
I
Right.
guess.
But what
in
if
addition
it's-
to yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But what if it's in one of the few lots that are empty and you're facing the
So,
street?
I mean, you also bear in mind are trying to, you want that, you do want something that has that kind of height, but sometimes people, it also doesn't always look right, like they're not doing it right.
Yeah.
Looks kinda funky.
Yeah.
In our neighborhood, new construction, I'm thinking of a lot of examples, which I don't think we want to dwell on too much, but they put it on, it's on a slab and it's not 18 inches and it doesn't mimic these basalt stem walls that we have. They're just, for new construction, they don't do that. And to a degree, we're not asking them to try and mimic what was done 100 years ago when they're building something new that you see from the street.
So bear in mind, somebody already X'd this out, like you guys got rid of it. So
Right.
I'm just,
Yeah.
which is why I put maybe worded as an encouragement. So if you want it, then they're required to do it. If you don't, and you just want to do it as a suggestion, then just like, we encourage blah, blah, blah. Just a thought. Let's see, what else did I have? I know I had something about windows down here. Oh yeah, so because I've had to deal with this a little bit lately, there's the primary chimney and then there's like secondary chimneys. Those should be maintained too. I mean, because they speak to an original use like a kitchen or something like that. And they're not like the whole big flash bang of the primary chicken. That's what I had for dinner. Sorry, they're not the big enchilada. God bless it. I'm like, and I ate. I don't know why I'm using food analogies, but they're still important because they still speak to the original use of the design that they were there. And so, it should be something that's brought out that these should be maintained too. And they're small. They're usually not big chimneys. They're just little
So-
dinky things.
Has that really been an issue? Because we don't distinguish between the two. It's just chimneys in general.
I think though that a lot of people think only of the big primary.
Well, we just allowed for one to get demolished, so.
Say that again. I'm sorry. I missed that.
I said we just approved one being taken out because it didn't have any sort of demarcation on the exterior wall. And it had already been removed on the inside, so it would have just been like a faux chimney at this point.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a faux chimney, but it still speaks that there was originally a use there, and it was originally part of the design. Sometimes chimneys don't stand proud on the exterior. It's like the fireplace part doesn't stand proud on the exterior. It is only the chimney.
Yeah, the one that I think we approved was like sort of a special case because it was in need of significant repair. But what if we just changed the title to like primary chimneys, secondary chimneys, and vents?
Just say all chimneys.
Or they're all chimneys.
All
and
chimneys, yeah.
Okay. Let's see what else. Oh, I the ever popular sliding glass doors on an addition not visible from the street. What about accordion style doors? And I say this because I'm thinking about trying to convince my husband for our house, which is also a historic house, but it wouldn't be visible from the public right away. It's, you know, the bifold doors. If it's on an addition, it's not visible from the street. Those are gaining some popularity. Like people are putting those in, you know, for the 2 months a year when it's really nice.
What kinds of doors are you talking about?
They're like La Cantina doors. They
It's like the big sliding doors that kind of all fold back so you can have
Yeah.
like multiple panels.
Oh,
So you have like a really large opening versus just like half of your opening.
gotcha.
Sorry for the baby grunts.
Yeah. I don't see why we would allow those. Sorry, Jody.
But again, it's on an addition that's not visible from the street. Same with the sliding glass doors.
Yeah.
It's on an addition that's not visible from the street. I mean, it's just a thought. It also helps delineate. Oh, the baby doesn't like it. It's also helps delineate, you know, new from old. Because this is not. I'm not talking about the historic portion. I'm strictly talking about an addition.
Right.
So
Well,
you're saying like maybe we add a number 5 that says,
Well, this is pertaining to 3 from the street.
yeah,
It says nothing about the back.
visible to the street, sliding glass doors are not allowed.
Ew.
Right, so.
I mean, it's just saying
that-
you can't have a sliding glass door that's visible from the street.
eh,
So there's nothing saying you can't use it in the backyard where it's not visible.
Yeah,
okay.
But for that matter, there's also nothing saying you couldn't use the bifold doors Jody's talking about.
Johnny's like really paying attention way better than I am. Oh, and then like metal, because so here you have standard wood screen doors are recommended, but I believe in the past you've approved some metal security doors.
yeah, we have. In fact, recently we've done that.
And so, I mean, you might want to include that.
I mean, I guess I like the way it's written, saying that we recommend a wood screen, but if they're willing to present something else and can make an argument for it, I don't think we should do their job for them.
Okay.
Now, is that all over the house or just from the street?
Only number 3 mentions the street, so.
Yeah.
There, let them make the argument.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, since it's saying not, we're recommending something, I think it's giving us leeway and them leeway.
okay. I am always concerned when people come in and they want to wholesale replace the windows. And I believe in any given scenario, your first item should always be repair rather than replace. And that's consistent with the Secretary of the Interior standards, to have them repair rather than replace. And then my other comment here under the windows is, I didn't see it, but have you guys given consideration or their comments on TDL versus SDL? Do you know
Alright,
what
I'm
those are?
pleading ignorance. I don't know what that is.
So it's a true divided light versus a simulated divided light. With a
Oh,
true
okay.
divided light, and you have like this 6-panel window here, these are
Mhm.
all individual pieces of glass. So if I
Right.
throw a rock, it's only going to break one in theory.
Mhm.
With a simulated divided light, and you have different kinds of simulated divided lights. You have simulated divided lights where there's a grill just on the inside. You have simulated divided light where there's a grill on the exterior only, and there's no grill on the interior between the dual panes. And then you have a simulated divided light where there's a grill on the exterior, interior, and in between the 2 panes of glass. Which is probably your better look because it kind of creates the whole
Right.
I
True
think if
divided
we're
light.
willing to entertain the idea of a simulated divided light, we'd have to have it presented and we need to see it, and then we could decide, yeah, that looks okay, or looks really cheap and horrible.
I would just
Or just-
automatically throw out simulated
Divided.
divided light where the grill is in between the dual pane pieces of glass. It looks terrible.
It's really bad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It may be making it easier to clean, but it really, and you don't, when you're driving by houses that have that type of simulated divided light, it's kind of actually hard to see grill. It's hard to see the light pattern because of the reflectivity of the glass. So you're not even getting a feel that it's supposed to be a divided light window.
I mean, is that a lot of verbiage to add to this about what types of simulated divided lights? I mean, should we just say true divided lights preferred? Again, sort of like what we did with the last one, and let them sort of make the case if they want something else.
You can keep it at that, TDL preferred.
Yeah.
Like you say, let them make the case the otherwise.
Right.
So TDL, I'm sorry. So I'm
Is
just trying.
true divided light.
No, I know what it stands for. So if you've got a case where the individual, to use Jody's, like if you throw a rock at one pane, that's the only pane that breaks. Is that not necessarily TDL? Because there's some cases where, I mean, I wasn't quite following that one.
Simulated divided light is essentially one
Kinda
piece of glass with the grill glued on.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So, okay. So in
So
my
basically,
case,
the plane of glass is continuous regardless of what the pattern is.
okay, and that's what simulate, okay. So
So
like,
if you, yeah, if you
I'm gonna
throw a
throw
rock,
out-
it'll break the whole thing.
right, okay.
And so it doesn't,
understand.
right, so it doesn't matter what the pattern looks like, but there's different ways of making up that simulated divided light.
Right,
So like she was saying, it could be just inside, it could be inside and outside, it can be just outside. And so
so
I say
mine,
we-
for example, that's why I was trying to follow mine. Each individual light is its own piece of double glass, and
right, so that would be a TDL. So I
A
say we
TDL.
should just say we prefer
TDL. okay.
TDL.
So one thing to consider though, is if you did a true divided light on a dual pane window,
Mhm.
which means you have 2 pieces of glass with the argon gas in between, and you
Right.
did a true divided light, the muttons are really thick for a true divided light with the dual pane window. So it actually kind of changes the feel of the window.
Well, I think that's why we should just say we prefer it. And if they can make the case and say, hey, we didn't like the way this looked, we wanted a thinner, you know what I mean? I think we should say what we prefer, and then they can make the case
Right.
aesthetically, or, you know,
I
because
mean,
if
it's
we just say, oh,
possible,
it's too
Jody,
expensive.
my windows, the muttons, I put a micrometer on them and the muttons on my windows are the same as the original. They're the same width.
Are you sure it's a true divided light window?
Oh, yeah.
Is it a dual pane window?
Yep.
Well,
It cost me a lot of money. But yes, it's it is a dual pane, and each individual, if you throw, it passes your test. If you throw a rock at one pane, that's the only pane that's going to break. But it does, if you put a mic on it, it's the same thickness. I don't know where I got them from. I didn't do it, but
dude, I'm gonna so come look at your windows.
okay, cool. Yeah.
Okay, so I just put TDL preferred, and Rachel is like the queen of let them make their case.
Yeah.
Well, that's my job every day, so.
Oh, security considerations. I just was thinking, did you want to like incorporate this into the respective sections? Like you have like the security doors, but back there you were talking about, up above, you were talking about the screen doors, and then you have security simple window bars. Maybe that should go with the windows. It's just a thought. You guys,
I think
know.
maybe instead we should, in the window section and the door section, say refer to this section so that it can be sort of. We don't want to list everything out individually. And I think just having, you know, go to section H for security considerations, and then they can read and they can all be kind of in one place.
Right.
Mhm.
I kind of like that too.
So I've had it in the past, not necessarily here, but with other historic homes where in order to install gutters, they've actually kind of shaved off the decorative rafter ends. Or there's been like at the front, the varge board that kind of extended past the rafter ends where they cut it to accommodate the gutter. So it's just a thought that letting people know you shouldn't be cutting rafter ends to accommodate gutters.
You just say that.
Yeah. You might, do we want to say decorative ones? I mean,
Or any, I mean, if they're decorative or not, sometimes you have exposed rafter ends that just are kind of plain, but they extend past the
oh, yeah, yeah, okay.
Oh, so this goes back to the solar thing. Place solar collective devices supporting hardware so they are not visible from the street. Well, oh, why is that not feasible? Where feasible, this includes devices. Oh, maybe I was making that up. Forget this one.
But it's lined out, the solar panels mounted flush with the roof line are recommended.
I think that's what we want, right?
Right, why is that? I'm looking for the,
Solar collectors are the panels. Or,
well, I'm just looking at what has a blue line through it. Solar
The
panels
sentence
mounted
below
flush
that,
with the,
Jody.
yeah, with the roof line are recommended. Please refer to City Tucson tech standards. So it's got a line through it. Which is, to Johnny's point, that actually what's written there is what we want.
it seems like there's maybe some division in this. I don't know if you wanted to discuss with the larger group about the solar panels and the placement.
Well,
I think we unstrike that sentence and we already removed the solar statement on the previous section because this is its own section here.
So you're fine with them being. Why is that flush with the line?
yeah, I don't know why. That's. What page is that? 53. All right, I made a note. I'll have to go back and look at that. I'll see if I can't figure it out, why it's struck through, because it's what we want.
Oh, on painted surfaces, generally unpainted surfaces should not be painted. Like those people with red brick houses and want to paint it, and then, 20 years down the road, red bricks back in, so they want to sandblast off their red.
Right,
off the paint. And in just like cobblestone or the tufa stone, it should all not be painted, and they shouldn't use abrasive manners to clean them or prep the surface. And that's direct, no abrasive cleaning from the standards, but it might be a sentence that you want to consider adding. So it doesn't speak to color, but it does. They don't paint unpainted surfaces.
I think that sounds like a good thing to add.
Let's see. Oh, I readily admit this is my nitpicky thing. On brick buildings, the signage should be attached through the mortar rather than a brick, because it's easier to fix mortar than it is to brick. And I've
Fine.
been, when we get these signs, I've been pushing back for them to do like a section detail to show that it's going through the brick or through the mortar, and having notes and stuff like that. But it might be something you want to add.
that's fine. I think that's a good idea. And we've actually discussed that in some minor, a lot of times when these things just come through for minor reviews, exactly that thing.
That's because I'm harping on it before it gets to you.
Okay.
Sorry, just going back to that, is the mortar joint the weakest thing to attach to though? I'm not disagreeing with that, what you're recommending, Jody. But are we ending up in some kind of legal problem if we're telling them where to attach and it may not, maybe something happens and then they point the finger to the board saying, oh, you guys told us to attach it here.
So usually, I mean, with these brick buildings, they're either a double width or a triple width. So even if they're attaching through the mortar on the exterior, going through the mortar, you usually hit brick behind it, and it attaches there. I haven't had any pushback. I mean, that's something I've been telling people for years in San Diego. I told them that. And I know the city of Phoenix, when they were doing it, that's where I actually learned about that. They were doing it. I've never had it come back to say, oh, the sign fell on my head because we had to attach the order.
Okay.
They usually go all the way through, and like, it's like I forget what that's called. A butterfly thing, when you do it to your wall, it kind of goes through and it expands out on the other side.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to them to design and engineer it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I mean, maybe instead of saying it needs to go through the mortar, we can say like, if possible, avoid damaging the brick. And then, they can kind of submit their detail, or I don't know.
I push back. I'll tell you when that comes through
Mhm.
and I see signage, I'm like, no, you need to go redo it again and show that you're going to go through the mortar.
Okay, I mean, there's epoxy, another thing. I mean, it's really a construction detail, and I think if we say don't ruin
Yeah.
your brick, and we say that it's their job then to make sure it's gonna meet those
Yeah.
standards.
And I can tell you this has come through a number of minor reviews and no one's pushed back or said it can't be done or if there's any risk. They just say, okay, that's what we'll do. I'm gonna stop us for just 1 second and just, little point of order. It's 5 minutes to 8, so I'm not sure, Jody, how many more comments you have. But I want to respect everybody. Well, I don't mind going a little bit past 8 if you all want to, so we can get this done. But I also
We're
want
done, right?
I just want to make sure.
I'm okay, even though I
Yeah,
have
I'm okay.
a squirmy baby.
That's okay. It's entertaining.
Yeah, it's good.
Reminds me of a past life of mine.
Well, I've locked the 4-year-old out because we would really get nothing done if he was in here, so.
All right.
Do you have any more comments, Jody?
Were there any more comments, Jody, or were we through them?
I think that was it.
Yeah,
Jody on mute? Or what's going
she's
on?
not on mute.
Oh, I think you just left the meeting, or she just go?
No, she's still there.
Some cloud icon with a red dot on her.
Oh, what is that?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Maybe bad connection or something?
No, cloud icon with the red dot, I think means recording, honestly.
Oh, is it?
I think. I just clicked on it. That's what it told me.
No, she lost her audio.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I lost my audio. Okay. She's not on mute.
The cloud is the recording, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Stupid.
No, so yeah, Jody, I mean, if you can hear us, okay, no more comments on the document. Okay.
All right.
Did we
All
want
right.
to touch really quick on how we want to continue meetings, or do we want to wait until there's more people here? Or we have to respond by July 1st? So we have
Well, they're asking for a July 1st response, and I just assumed that we have a brief discussion on it, since if you all don't mind another couple of minutes.
Mhm.
The only comments I've gotten back from the email I sent out was folks saying, I'm good with whatever anybody else wants to do, more
Yeah.
or less. And I'm kind of in that way too. I can find us a place. I mean, basically, I think we just go back to the church, which is fine. I know for some of you, that involves a little bit more of a drive, right? I don't know what Jody's doing with her screen, but yeah, okay, she's showing us her comments back. Meetings are done virtually.
I'm okay with both. There's pluses and minuses for me either way. Yes, I would have a drive, but then I also don't have to lock my children out of my room to do it. So, it's kind of, I can go either way on it as well. So I know Darcy seemed in our last discussions about it that she really was pushing to have the meetings in person. Things seem to kind of go a little bit quicker. There's a lot less technical difficulties and all that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm fine with either too.
Okay. Well, I can set us up in the church, and I believe now Jody had told me separately that the city will not be able to provide hard copies like they have in the past, so we would have to kind of like bring our own. And I think in the church we can get Wi-Fi, and if we just have a laptop or something, we can still access material. I do agree that sometimes the technical issues tend to add a lot of complexity to the meeting that we don't need.
talking
So-
over each other or
Right.
long pauses while we kind of wait for things like that. Jody also saw or wrote a comment I think I saw, that we'd have to wear a mask.
And distance.
Yeah, social distancing. I think if we were able to get that room in the church, it's plenty big enough that I don't think social distancing would be an issue there.
No, I don't think social distancing can be an issue. We do have to follow whatever the city guidelines are with respect to social distancing, masks, or whatever. And I guess that right now the guideline is you have to wear a mask in these meetings, and that I presume at some point will go away. I think we can try it, and if it doesn't work, we can go back.
I guess I would say the way that email was worded that was sent out to all of us, I was a little bit confused if there was like a survey coming out that we were gonna like answer questions on, or if we were just supposed to respond to that email.
That is the email is asking responses. That's the survey.
Okay, that would be my one thing that maybe everyone thinks Jody that maybe because I didn't notice if it. I know a couple people had responded, but I didn't know. Like I know that Darcy really seemed to want to go back to in-person meetings, and so maybe I know it wasn't clear to me, so maybe it wasn't clear to everybody else.
Well, the email was only sent out, and Jody could correct me, to the chairs of all these different boards and commissions, and left it to them to get information from their own individual constituents. So what I can do as follow-on to this is send an email separate from our actual minutes, but put it in the minutes as well, to everybody on the board saying we're in favor of moving to an in-person format, which will require social distancing and masks. And, you know, speak or forever hold your peace, because there are a number of folks that really haven't responded to the note I sent out. No, you know, no aspersions on any of that, but and I don't know what comes with the survey, because it's just a survey. If there is a ruling that says thou shalt go one way, or you're allowed to go hybrid, or what.
Well, I think on Jody's responses, there's no equipment to go hybrid. So we couldn't do hybrid unless the city gets equipment for those meetings.
Yeah, so we have, right, that's true. Now the church, as it turns out, has been willing for neighborhood association meetings to provide equipment. There is equipment at the church, but it takes somebody to run it, which the church has also provided for the neighborhood meetings.
Who set the July 1st deadline?
Whoever sent that email out, I don't remember what office she's from.
Okay, because maybe it's something that we need to, like, if possible, it sounds like,
Well, they probably have to collect it by a certain date to get it on the mayor and council agenda.
Yeah, I think Johnny's right. And the OWL system that, if you're looking at the chat, that Jody referred to, is a system that the church has. It's the same thing, the OWL.
Okay. I mean, I guess I don't feel like we can really answer that question if we, well, it either is we need to say we're going to stick to digital meetings, or we're going to go to in person, because there's not an option for hybrid right now, since it's limited resources.
All right. Well, let me, you know, ping everybody else on the board and say, this is kind of what we discussed, and hybrid is problematic. So it's one or the other. And kind of see where this goes, but I haven't heard anybody say, no, hell no, I don't want to do in person, including the people that aren't here today. Okay, I'll take care of that. All right, let's quickly close out here. Item 7, staff updates. Jody, I can see you in the chat. Any staff updates? or for that matter, item, okay. And then any future agenda items, Jody? See how fast Jody can type. Oh, capstone will likely be coming soon. That's exciting. Okay. All right, but they're not, okay, that's fine. Capstone coming soon.
She said in the next few months.
Whatever.
Are they still moving those houses?
Well, they're proposing moving the houses. They're proposing moving. I mean, I don't want to bog the meeting down. They're proposing moving the houses they originally proposed moving. They have since acquired rights to 2 other houses, which they are not proposing moving. And they're demoing one, yes, proposing demoing one.
Okay.
None of that's been approved. That's just what they're proposing. All right. That brings us to item 9, adjournment. I have a motion to adjourn.
This is Rachel Sarah. I motion to adjourn
Second,
at 8:05.
This is Damon, a second.
Damon, I need to write that down. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Thanks for giving us an extra 5 minutes, everybody, and have a good rest of your night.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. See y'all next week. Or month.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.